for April 8th. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hopkins, Johnson,
Present.
Jackson, Young,
Present.
Burrell, Cawthorn,
Present.
Gage Watts, Taliaferro,
Here, sir.
Atkins,
Here.
Chavez,
Here, sir.
Lazarus,
Here.
and Epperson. All right, you have a quorum. If there's 10 present and 2 absent.
Okay, we'll have our invocation by Commissioner Cawthorn and our Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Chavez. Would everyone stand?
Good evening. We all look to Christ. Dear Heavenly Father, we come this evening with bowed down and humble hearts. We are thankful and grateful for being afforded the opportunity to assemble this evening. We pray your mighty blessings upon this nation, state, city, and parish. We pray, dear Heavenly Father, that the information that we will discuss this evening will be discussed in decency and order, and will edify you, which reside in heaven, and will be a blessing to the citizens of this locale. In Christ Jesus' name, we offer this petition. Amen.
Amen. If everybody in the chamber will face the flag, civilians, please place your right hand over your heart. Military or veterans, you may render a hand-to-brow salute and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Cawthorn and Commissioner Chavez for those. Next item.
Next item is agenda additions. I'm not aware of any unless you have any.
I don't have any.
Okay. That brings us to citizens' comments. Citizens who wish to address the commission on any issue other than zoning, please fill out a comment card located in the chamber foyer and return to the president or the clerk of commission. Individual comments are limited to 3 minutes, and we have received some and submitted those in the order they were received.
Okay. We have some multiple cards, comments dealing with certain topics. We do have a 15-minute limit on those, and we'll try to stay within those. Right now, look like we will.
Mr. President, I move that we, at this particular time, I move that we suspend the 15-minute rule and allow each speaker a 3-minute time limit.
Got a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and second to suspend the rule on the 15-minute per topic on public comments. Got a question?
Could we, yes, I do have a question, Mr. Chair. Is there a way we could expand the 15 minutes by another, say, 10 minutes or another 15 minutes so that we sort of know how long we'll be listening to comments? It could be that there are many people waiting and they might have similar things to say. I don't know if we...
But right now, we will be okay. I was just saying that for if there was some additional people that wanted to come right after that. But we got a motion and a second. We can vote on it if there's any opposition. If not,
I don't think I understand the question.
he basically saying instead of doing it your way, just making a motion to add an additional 20 minutes or whatever it is, and then that would be it.
Yeah, but by doing it Commissioner Jackson's way, everybody gets 3 minutes,
Right.
regardless of the number of people.
Right.
So are you saying that you just want to limit it to a certain time frame? How many cars do we have on that particular? I'm almost sure I know what the topic is.
I believe there's
I guess we can do the
got-
math here.
very much.
We got 3 right now.
Just 3?
Yeah, that's what I
There was
said.
some more coming.
Okay, then never mind.
Well, I would say that, those that you have now, we go with those, and then all others may be able to go at the end.
We got four now, so.
Yeah, I think that'll accommodate.
Like 24, 25 minutes,
Yep.
assuming they take all 3 minutes.
It's fine. Never mind.
So
That
do we
good
need to
with you?
vote or acclamation?
Acclamation's fine with
All right, moved by the acclamation. All right, so the first person up will be Kenneth Griff.
Thank you, Mr. President, Dr. Wilson, members of the commission. Kenneth Kreff, 157 Archer Avenue, Shreveport 71105. First, I want to thank Darlene Cooper in purchasing for returning my call and giving me the information I requested yesterday. And I want to congratulate Hank Aaron, who 47 years ago took Al Downing deep for number 715. I want to welcome sign on I-49 South entering Caddo Parish. Not a welcome to Louisiana, bienvenue in Louisiana. I want to welcome to Caddo Parish sign. Let's let them know, as we do northbound on I-49, leaving DeSoto, it says Caddo Parish. It doesn't say welcome, it just says Caddo Parish. Similarly, on I-20, eastbound coming from Harrison County, welcome to Louisiana. Nothing about Caddo Parish. Highway Department can do that. Westbound, when you leave Bossier and enter Caddo, it tells you Caddo Parish. For some reason, coming from another parish deserves a parish sign, but coming from another state does not. It's everywhere. When you leave I-20 westbound and you leave Vicksburg and you come into Louisiana, it tells you Louisiana, but it doesn't tell you Madison Parish. Anyway, juvenile justice, just want to kind of bring it up. Hope we can get a meeting soon. The last time we tried was November 7th of '06, when Cedric Glover defeated Jerry Jones for mayor. It failed by 664 votes. It was 0.1%. Sales and use tax, half of that, 1/20%. A penny on a $20 bill would be enough to fund the deficit. Otherwise, we keep chiseling away deficit spending year after year, as we've done for many years. Broadmoor Neighborhood Association has a new schedule. We don't have to Zoom, so we're going to meet for Commissioners Jim and John Paul, who each have part of Broadmoor's area in their districts, third Tuesdays at 6:30 at the Broadmoor Presbyterian Church gym. Specifically, on Tuesday the 20th, a runoff forum for Bessie District 4 between Mr. Mellerine and Dr. Williams. Finally, the wildflowers. When I drove to Baton Rouge, so beautiful in DeSoto and in Natchitoches. Yellow and purple, maroon, white, red, gorgeous. I don't know if Caddo has them on I-49 north to Arkansas. Haven't driven that way in many months. If it doesn't, whoever can get some beautiful wildflowers, as I saw in the other parishes. And that'll do it. I thank you, and thank you for meeting live. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. The next will be on the topic of Casey Simpson. First one is Laura Sabbath.
I spoke to the coroner today, praying that he does the right thing. I know what I'm up against. He said natural causes, and I said word games. My baby didn't just drop dead. He said, the coroner, that my baby's sugar level was way past 1,000. You would think that was enough. It gets worse. With his last breath was help me. Who is responsible? Because I have names of COs, correctional officers, that were there standing right there in front of him. That weekend, my son had been blowing my phone up Saturday and Sunday. Every time he would call me from the jail, my phone was blacked. So by the time I would open it up, my call was lost. He tried calling me desperately 6 times. And I'm gonna have to live with that my stupid phone did not let me open the phone and find out what was going on. So he was trying to get help from his mother. I just want to read you some statements from some of the eyewitnesses. And told him if he didn't go back to his cell, he would go on lockdown. I witnessed 3 days straight they refused him from going to the doctor. Another part of this was one of them was new and the other one name was Bleep Bleep or something like that. They don't pay attention to inmates here. They always think, bless you, they write you, can't tell them nothing. I'm ready to take my time and get away from here, honestly. But I have more information once I get the writing statements, forms from other inmates. That's just one. And bear with me, I'm just reading you partial inserts of the letters because I don't want them to be identified and harmed or harassed. This one says, he was in severe pain, so he filled out a sick call. It says they gave him 2 Tylenol and a Tums. I have 3 statements from this one person that my son put out a sick call 3 times, and none of his pleas were met. It talks about how my son crawled out of his cell, telling him he couldn't breathe and to help him. And they told him to get his A back up in the cell before we kill you.
Excuse me a second. We would like to extend your time 3 minutes, if it's okay, if you need it.
What is,
Because your 3-minute limit is up,
Motion
so I
to
want to
extend.
extend it, so make a motion.
It's been moved and second to extend 3 minutes on Ms. Sabat. Ms. Sabat, you can continue if you have anything else to say.
oh yeah,
You got
please.
three more minutes.
Please help us. We're asking for an independent investigation outside of Shreveport, outside Louisiana. I need to feel that this investigation was fair and thorough. Excuse me, but I don't trust that the same people that were responsible for my son's death are going to investigate themselves. So to me, that makes no sense to me. I am begging this board to please vote yes on this investigation. I need justice. I need to know how my baby died. He didn't die from a bullet. He died from people who we trust are going to take care of them. You know, they're paid to have an inmate housed in their facility. I don't know why they didn't give him medical attention, but, you know, it's a pattern with this place. So I'm begging all of you to do this because there are other inmates that could be harmed as well for witnessing this. So I'm speaking for them. I'm speaking for anybody that's going to go to jail, what they're going to face in there. It's beyond anything that I've ever heard, that people are treated like this, no respect at all. They are berated, spit at, beaten, everything by the people we trust. I didn't know. If I'd have got that call, they would have took me to jail, or they were gonna pull my son out of there. If I had answered that call and my son said, "Mama, help me," I would have went to jail that night because y'all gonna give my baby some help. Somebody gotta do all that. That's my child. I want to see the video. I want to see who is standing there watching him, how they go to sleep at night, because they sleeping real good, I think. Not me, not so much. Every time I close my eyes, I think about my baby couldn't breathe. He had bronchitis, so imagine it getting worse. You know, my baby died over a 30-cent pill that could have saved his life, and he was denied. So I just need you guys to do the right thing. I love Shreveport. I do. This is my home. I told you I'm vested. Thank you for your
Ms. Sabat,
time.
before you sit down, please give us your name for the record.
My name
Yes.
is Mrs. Laura Drakes Draquez Sabbath.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next person is Gabriel Piddleton. Not here. Jade Sabbath. Not here. We'll go now to another topic, Resolution 35. Lester Smith.
Good afternoon. Lester Smith, y'all. Excuse my cool mode. I forgot my glasses, left them in the truck and was in here before I realized I left them. But anyway, we're back here again. A mother pleading for somebody to help her for the death of her child in at the hands of those who are supposed to serve and protect. And we constantly have to come down here and beg, asking people to do what they should do. That young man was in the custody of Caddo Parish Sheriff. And if he was in their custody, he was in their care. And they should have taken care of that young man. But this is a trend when it comes to us. A group of white guys got together and stormed the Capitol. Not one was harmed, but let it have been Black Lives Matter, there wouldn't have been enough body bags. Proved it the other day when a black individual ran through the barricade, killed. So I'm not coming to beg and ask you guys to do what we think that you should know need to be done. But what I'm saying is we as a people, black people, are going to have to come together, because if iron sharpens iron, strong men make weaker men strong. We're going to have to come together. And the best way to stop a bully is to put something back on his behind. That way you get some respect and order from him. As long as we come down here begging and asking the people that we pay to do for us what should come natural with their job, and we haven't gotten a favorable response yet. I've been down here on numerous occasions asking not necessarily this body, but the city council to do something about individuals that's killed, murdered at the hand of police officers. And there's not been one conviction of any police officer in this city for killing a black man. And it's time out for us coming down here begging. So I charge people to come together. First of all, we as a people need to unite and come together and do what we have to do, because these are our lives. These are our babies. A mother is begging and crying because somebody didn't do what they were supposed to do for her child in an institution that we pay to operate. Our tax dollars pay to keep that place open. And we cannot find justice. I don't care where we look, we cannot find justice. And this is wrong, people. And we shouldn't have to come down here asking you guys to make the law do what the law's supposed to do. And this it's sad that we as a people constantly down here begging you guys to help us. And I say to us, when are we going to start helping ourselves? When? I say the time is now. Stop coming down here begging and asking our elected officials who are supposed to recognize the needs in our community to do what should be done in our community. It's time we take it upon ourselves and do what we need to do to help ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Kathleen Douglas. Caitlin.
My name is Caitlin Douglas. I came here today to speak on behalf and in support of resolution number 35. I first want to say thank you to Stephen Jackson for being the only commissioner to actually support it so far as public goes. I'm very disappointed with the fact that last summer, at the height of the George Floyd protesting, our entire city had a monumental movement in support of lives being taken at the hands of police and being taken in Caddo Parish custody. I come here representing Hood Politics, We the People, Black Voters Matter, the NAACP, and a whole bunch of other organizations. But what's the point of us having elected officials in office if you aren't listening to your constituency? It should be shameful to you guys that people are literally begging. You just saw a mother who lost her son in police custody, literally pleading with you, bringing witness statements, asking for answers surrounding the death of her son. We need to treat felons as citizens who should be rehabilitated, not as people who don't have hope for a better future. And I would hope and think that at 26 years old, I could look to commissioners who are seasoned and who may have a different level of experience than myself to be able to do the things that they do. I'm in District 7. Stormy Gage Watts is my commissioner, and I'm very disappointed in the fact that I have heard that you have not been supporting this legislation, especially because Moortown is one of the most underprivileged, underserved, and under-resourced areas in our community. We have gun violence in our communities, but let's not talk about gun violence. Let's talk about the violence and the perpetuation of evils at the elected official and the legislative levels. It is a evil, in fact, to not do what is in the best interest and what serves the best interest of the people. Do good things, set good examples, and you get good results, period, point blank. I support Resolution 35 because of Wavy Austin, because of Tommy McLaughlin Jr., because of Casey Lewis Simpson, and because of the myriad of people who are being killed in police custody in Shreveport, Louisiana. The entire world is literally watching a trial for a murder of a black man who was killed, and we know for a fact, undoubtedly, that he was killed and murdered in police custody, and yet they have found a way to put him, a dead black man, on trial instead of the person who actually murdered him. Let's not repeat mistakes, and let's not make the same mistakes of our history. We have the power to be able to change things and to set good examples and to create a future for Shreveport conducive to the growth and the level of capacity building that we want to see for our youth and our young adults. But felons are people, and they should be treated as such in police custody. So at the end of the day, thank you again, Stephen. I'm disappointed, Ms. Watts. I am open to communicate with you, and I'm disappointed in everybody else who did not support this legislation.
Marvin T. Muhammad.
Mr. President, I just want to say that Commissioner Gage Watts did support the resolution, so I just.
I know we can't talk dialogue.
Marvin
I'll
T.
address it
Muhammad.
later.
Just wanted to put that
Marvin
up.
T. Muhammad. Is he gonna speak?
Mr. President, to the commission, my name is Marvin Muhammad. I'm going to start off my words with an article that came out in the Advocate. I'm going to read about 3 paragraphs. The title of this article is Angola Officials Deliberately Indifference to Inmates' Medical Needs, Judge Says. It says, state corrections officers have been deliberately indifferent to the medical needs of Louisiana State penitentiary inmates for decades. A federal judge has ruled, noting that that they weren't even getting properly diagnosed. That one patient, cancer took so long that he died before chemotherapy could begin. In a 124-page ruling, Wednesday, Chief U.S. Federal District Judge Shelley Dick found that inmate access to health care is unconstitutionally inadequate in the areas of clinical care, specialty care, infirmary care, and emergency care. It goes on to say that plaintiffs have satisfied their burden of proving the defendants have been deliberately indifferent to the inmate's serious medical needs in the means and matters of delivery of health care and the violation of the 8th Amendment to the United States Constitution. I submit to you gentlemen that the Department of Corrections, Angola State Penitentiary, is a microcosm of a systemic issue that does not exclude the Caddo Parish Sheriff Office and the facility here that this parish owns, Caddo Correctional Center. I want to thank Commissioner, and I'm going to say his initials, Commissioner President LBJ, for his letter to the sheriff. Because as we know now, the sheriff responded very boldly in saying and indicating to us that he had no intentions of bringing anybody from the outside for an investigation. I say it's initial because I'm reminded of a president, LBJ, who during his tenure, he brought the 1963 Public Accommodations Act, the 1964 Civil Rights Act, and the 1965 Voting Rights Act. Why is this critical? Because those of us who are part of a disenfranchised, we understand that it's not about relationships. Commissioner Johnson, President Johnson request to the state office is based off a relationship. Because in the future, we might have a president of the commission that has a leaning towards the citizens of the city of the parish. This is why we must vote for Commissioner Jackson's resolution, because it asks for policies in place. We want an investigation that does not only deal with Casey Simpson's loss of life, but look at the operational procedures of CCC. We know that CCC was built with a certain prison capacity. Well, we know that under Prater, our sheriff, that he now puts 3 men in cells. Think about that, 6x9 cells, in COVID conditions. 3 men now less than 6 feet apart. Think about that. Medical indifference, malpractice, disregard for humanity. This is what must change. There's a belief that the sheriff or the Caddo Parish Sheriff Office isn't necessarily responsible to report.
Mr. Muhammad.
Yes.
Your 3 minutes is up.
Move to extend, I'm sorry.
Got a motion to extend.
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Second.
Been motioned by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Carthon to extend it for 2 minutes. Is it by acclamation or? Okay, so we have 2 more minutes, Mr. Muhammad.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I was saying, this isn't about relationships. This is about the necessity of policy. We cannot bank on relationships to bridge communities together. Policy does not necessarily bridge communities, but what it does, it provides the framework, because policy has to be in the heart. So I ask you today not to think with your heart, but to think. But to think. As I was saying at the conclusion of my 3 minutes, the sheriff, as this commission knows, or the Caddo Parish Sheriff Department, gives a monthly report to you all about the amount of contraband that goes or enters into parish facilities, which includes the Caddo Parish Courthouse and the Caddo Parish juvenile facility as well. So the things that is in the resolution number 35, is sensible, because we need a framework moving forward. We need a framework to bridge the community together. You know, Commissioner Burrell, I'm awfully fond of one of the greatest alphas that I love, the Dr. Martin Luther King, because in his attempt to bring equality and justice for the disenfranchised, Lyndon B. Johnson is recorded as saying, "Make me do what's right." And of course, we now know that King was up to the task. So I ask you, to do what's right so that the citizens of this parish won't feel like we have to make you do what's right by protesting the Caddo Correctional Center, by protesting parish facilities until we have your attention, until you see that something needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Muhammad. Next person is Barika Peoples.
How you doing, Commission? President Johnson, I want to say ALBJ this time. How y'all doing? I want to thank Stephen for sponsoring this 35, and thank you, Ms. Stormy, Lynn, and Roy for y'all support as well. It's a must that we get this done. We must have checks and balances, and also it build confidence into each and every one of y'all from the citizens. I mean, if we have this, if we pass this, I hope we pass it. When we pass this resolution and we don't find anything, fine. But we gotta see what's going on in the jail. I came under the leadership of Jerry Burrell. She is the police jurywoman in DeSoto Parish. So I know from her teaching that y'all are responsible for the jail. Y'all own the jail. So we should know what's going on in there. We should know. I mean, we just want to know what happened, what's going on with the people in the jail, and what happened to Casey, and that's it. And it's Barika Peoples, I'm sorry, and the people promise that Casey Simpson, and also Tommy McLaughlin stand with Stephen. Thank you, LBJ. Thank you, Storm, and thank you, the rest of the commission.
Thank you, Ms. Peoples. The next person, we called Jade Sabbath earlier. Is she here? Not. Gabriel Pendleton, is he here? Okay, we'll add them to comments at the end. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, the next item is visitors. We do not have any scheduled visitors today, so that brings us to adopt regular session minutes where you have two.
So moved.
Second. Been moved by Commissioner Gage White, seconded by Commissioner Atkins to adopt the minutes for the regular session on March 18, 2021. Seeing no questions, let's vote.
Commissioner Young.
Use your finger. Use your finger.
It doesn't, it's not giving him the option anymore. Saying not in queue.
What's your vote?
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries with 10 in support and 2 absent. 10 in support and 2 absent, that's correct. And that brings us to the next item, which is the special session minutes for property standards.
Mr. President, that's gonna be 11 to 1. 11 to 1. 11.
Oh,
President.
11 to 1? I thought counted. Okay, I'm sorry. I must have skipped over one other when I looked up there.
Todd was out, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Did you
11 to 1 on that one.
No, I was out.
Okay, I'm sorry.
11 in favor with 1 absent, thank you.
Oh, it would have been.
I knew that.
You right, you were right. 10 to 2, he was out.
10 was 2 out.
He came and sat by me, so I.
Well, okay.
The
And
vote
so,
is 10 to 2.
10 to 2.
got it.
Okay.
That's what we have.
Commissioner Burrell, you on the board, or do I need to clear? Okay. Next item.
The next item is special session minutes of the property standards hearing on March 22nd.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Gage White, seconded by Commissioner Atkins to adopt the minutes for the property standards March 22nd, 2021. Let's vote.
Okay. And that motion passes with 11 in support and 1 absent. The next item on our agenda is special resolutions, of which there are none today. So that brings us to communiques and committee reports, where we have the administration response to information requests from commissioners.
Dr. Yeah, Commissioner Johnson, Commissioners, good afternoon. We have several items today for you all, so I'll try to be as brief as I can. And I'd like to start with making a couple of presentations for some employees. Commissioners, you may know that my very able-bodied secretary, executive assistant, Ms. Karen Bell, is retiring. Her last day is tomorrow, and she has dedicated 23 years of service to the Parish of Caddo. She's been my right hand, and she's also been a blessing to me as well as this organization. And I'd like to recognize her now by calling her forward and presenting her a plaque. Ms. Karen Bell. The one and only Karen Bell. Okay. All right. The plaque reads as follows: Karen K. Bell, Executive Assistant, a recognition of 22 years of dedicated service to the Caddo Parish Commission Administration and the citizens of the Parish of Caddo. It has been a privilege and honor to work beside you. You have truly been an inspiration to all of us. July 22nd, 1998 to April 9th, 2021. Okay, thank you, Ms. Kay. Okay, Commissioners, I could say a lot about Ms. Bell, but I was thinking about it today in reflection, and I came to three things. She has helped me become a better administrator, a better person, and she's been quite an inspiration spiritually to me as well, because most of you all may know Ms. Karen is an awesome woman of God, and she had always had a word of God, a word for me when things were going tough. She always leaned on God and said, you know what, God has never let us down, and he will never let us down. So I'm going to miss that. It's quite an emotional day for me as well as for her, but I appreciate her. She has pulled me out of a lot of different situations. So with that being said, thank you, Kay, I love you, and I appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
I appreciate you all sharing your time with me. As I indicated a few days ago and to several persons, my retirement is, especially at this time, is bittersweet. Bitter because of the fact that I love the position that I held for so many years. I love my Parish of Caddo family, who I refer to as not only my team members, but my family members. And I love this organization for which you head up. It has been truly an honor and a privilege for me to have been able to work for such phenomenal people in a phenomenal environment and who do phenomenal things. I owe a great debt of gratitude, as I said the other day when several commissioners came up to see me, to former Mayor and Administrator Bill Hanna, for whom I worked during his tenure as mayor. And subsequent to that, I worked for John Hussey for 8 years. So I was in the mayor's office for 12 years. And Mr. Hanna and I parted ways. But soon after that, he sought me out and got a phone call from him out of the blue asking if I would be interested in coming to work for him at the Parish of Caddo. And I was honored that he remembered me. And he and I, along with Mr. Randy Lucky, had a great relationship, did some wonderful things. And upon his retirement, Dr. Wilson succeeded him. And I owe a greater debt of gratitude to Dr. Wilson, because he could have easily chosen someone else to be his assistant, but he took a chance on me. And Dr. Wilson and Randy and I worked close together, continuing to do phenomenal things. And subsequent to Mr. Randy Lucky's retirement, Dr. Wilson chose the most capable Miss Erica Bryant to succeed Randy. And Erica imparted her confidence in me, with her being in that role as assistant administrator and becoming another one of my supervisors, and all three of us have worked great together. But I couldn't say enough about the Parish of Caddo employees, because your phones probably don't ring a lot, and it's because of what they do. They are the most dedicated employees with which I have ever worked. And I've heard someone say at one time, they come every day expecting to bring it. And that's exactly what they do. And it is an honor and a pleasure for me to have worked with them, and I am going to miss them. And many of you I have known for quite some time, and some of you not as long. But I have come to respect you and thank you for what you do for this parish. The employees are appreciative of the things that you do, especially when you adopt the budget to include a merit increase for us. We are appreciative of you when you consider giving us an extra day, Commissioner Jackson, during a holiday. We appreciate that. And we all want you to know how much we appreciate you all and how you support the administrative team. And I said that it was bitter, but then it's sweet. I've had my 90-year-old mother living with me for the last 10 years. And I have been noticing her, and she has been declining. I'm doing good because I'm not crying too much. And Yasmin didn't bring my tissue box. But, and I just realized, I prayed to the good Lord and asked him to give me some direction, and he did. He reminded me that I asked him to keep me so that I could look after her. And he's done that.
Amen.
And the time has come for another chapter in my life, but I will forever remember my experience and remember all of you and thank you for what you've done. And it's somewhere in the Bible, I think Paul wrote these words: I will always cherish the remembrance of you, each and every one of you. Meaning that every time I think about this place, I will think about you. So Godspeed to all of you. Thank you for enriching my life. Thank you for enriching the lives of my team members, my family members that you see behind me. We appreciate you, and we're going to keep you all lifted up. And thank you all. Thank you, and I owe a great debt of gratitude to all of you. Thank you so much. I have some family members here that I noticed. My son and daughter-in-law, Rodney Bell and Desiree Bell, and my two grandbabies, Elena Bell and Alyssa Bell, and my baby brother, Stanley Bell, and my oldest brother was supposed to have come. That Donald Big Dog Bell. But thank you all so much. God bless y'all. Thank you.
Ms. Karen, thank you. Ms. Karen, thank you for those kind words. We have a few commissioners who have some words of their own. Ms. Karen, if you could wait 1 minute.
Okay.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Yeah, I just wanted to say to Ms. Bell, congratulations. I've had the good experience of working with Ms. Bell for many years when I was on the other side, and it was always a pleasure. And all I can tell you is retirement is good.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Acting President. Just wanted to say congratulations. A lot of people don't reach that stage or that milestone these days. And it's always was good when I could get transferred over to you. Or if I send an email to you, you follow up, you're very thorough. And so I know what it's like to have a good, strong, solid support system, and you provide that support system to the staff and to the commission body. So I know you're going to enjoy the time off and looking after your mother. I know I would always see y'all at Mount Canaan sitting side by side. You know, now is the time, if you're going to take that time to kind of, you know, see what else is out there, and breathe and smile. And you always were a smiling person, and always was a laughing person. I know once I bumped into you, I was going to get a good laugh. And so, and you're not really even a comedian. You just have that in you. And you bring it out of others. And so, congratulations.
Thank you.
And enjoy yourself, and we're gonna miss you. And I'll see you when I'm over at the Canaan, with the Canaanites, Mount Canaan's finest. So
my church member Deacon Lester sitting out there, I just saw him.
And I see your church administrator Travis Bogan out there too.
Yeah.
So enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I want to say a special congratulations to you. We have been friends a long time, even before you came to the commission. And you've been a staple here at the commission when I was at the city council. And Dr. Wilson said that he took a chance on you, but I think you took a chance on him to bring your talents here, and I'm sure he appreciated it. And as I always compliment your beautiful mom, which I call your twin, she'll be glad to have you there and to support her. So thanks again.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. I'll skip myself and go to Commissioner Stormy-Gage Watts.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Bell, who's going to be here to remind me of the way I say Chris? I love celebrations like this, to be able to give you your flowers while you can smell them. I just want to say thank you for all of the excellence that you have provided for all of us.
Thank you.
And showing us what it means to love people in spite of. You're such a warm person, so affable, easy to talk to about anything. You are certainly going to be missed, but I'm so glad that you're still here and that you're just retiring, and that we get to say congratulations to whatever endeavor that you decide to do. I know what it means to have a relationship with a mom the way that you have, and it's always such a joy and a pleasure to see the two of you together. I pray that God continues to bless both of you with longevity, and that the best is yet to come. I love you, I'm proud of you, and thank you for everything.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, VP. Ms. Bell, I got to give you the flowers yesterday and tell you how much I loved you, so I'll be brief. The 8th floor lobbyist was not here last year, aka Randy Lucky, to persuade me to put it on the agenda since I was the president, so I wanted to get a point of clarification on who allowed the day off for the employees for the first time last year. But every other time, I was very grateful to do it for you guys. And I'm going to miss seeing you up there. I don't know how Dr. Wilson's going to do it without you, but you enjoy it. You enjoy your retirement.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you so
Commissioner
much.
Chavez. And Ms. Bell, if I may just add, you are the light of the 8th floor. Whenever I'd go to the 8th floor, there would be your energy and your efficiency, and most importantly, your joy. And we'll miss you, and the whole community will miss you. We hope to see you around town, so don't be a stranger, and thank you for all you've been doing for our community for all these years.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Hey, Commissioners, I do want to introduce Mrs. Bell replacement, Ms. Anita Mills. Anita? Anita has a wealth of experience, and she brings a lot to this position. I'm looking very closely and working closely with her. But when you call up to the office, this will be the person you'll be talking to in the future. Okay? So Anita, this is...
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Welcome to the spot, Anita.
Well, I have some very wonderful big shoes to fill. I will do the job to my very best ability. I promise I won't let you down. I've been with the parish 31.5 years, and many of you probably do not realize, but whenever I first came on the parish in 1989, I was the Miss Bell of the parish. I was Francis Bickham's executive assistant way back when, and I had the opportunity to progress throughout the organization and work in several different positions, and I count it lucky to be able to return with Dr. Wilson and Ms. Bryant and serve out the last remaining years of my career back where I started. So I look forward to working with each and every one of you. I talk to a lot of you occasionally now in the grants office, but I'm looking forward to speaking with you much more often. And Karen is a very good friend of mine, and I really hate to see her go. She and I work closely together on a day-to-day basis, and she is a wonderful person, and we will all miss her on the 8th floor. So feel free to call me. I'll be there trying to fill Miss Bell's shoes, and Dr. Wilson and Erica and I will be working closely together to meet all of your needs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Anita.
Thank you.
Commissioners, we have one more presentation to make. We have a long-term employee, Mr. Samuel Lloyd Samuel. And Mr. Lloyd started his career 34 years ago with the Parish of Caddo. Jim, he spent 30 years in animal services. In his last 4 years in facilities and maintenance department. And Lloyd's been very faithful to the Parish of Caddo. We owe him a debt of gratitude for his service as well. So I'd like to read his plaque as well. It said, Lloyd Samuels, Tech 1, a recognition of over 34 years of dedicated service to the Caddo Parish Commission, facilities and maintenance department, and the citizens of the Parish of Caddo. It has been a privilege and honor to work beside you. You have truly been an inspiration to all of us. April 20, 1987 to April 9th, 2021.
Thank you.
The only thing I would like to say is a lot of people ask me how I stayed so long. And it goes back to what my daddy used to always tell me. Two things. One, people are the same all over the world. Two, treat people the way you want to be treated, and you can't go wrong. And one more, most important thing. Always choose your battles to fight for, because everything in this world is not worth fighting for. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Samuels. Thank you for your service. Dr. Wilson, are you done?
Okay. Commissioners, I want you to be aware of the also I was asked to give the same update that I give at the work sessions on Monday, to give it again on Thursday, so I'll briefly do that as well. The relocation of the Confederate Monument, we did get one. We had several inquiries, but one actual bid. So now we're evaluating that for the technical competency, whether they can actually do the work. The disparity study, the RFP was due back today, so I'll probably have an update for you the next time I meet with you. The welcome sign on I-49, we still have an issue with the northern part of that. We did get some opportunity to get some private land, but it was set so far back off the road, it would probably be difficult to see it. So we're still trying to come up with a better solution. The U.S. Treasury Emergency Rental Assistance Program, on Monday we had 1,735 applicants. Today we have 2,241 applicants, an increase of 506 in 3 days. So that program is going forward, quite robust, and we expect to serve about 6,000 people in that program. Also, Director Clark has a presentation that Commissioner Johnson asked for him to make on animal services. So, Director Clark, would you come at this time, please, and give us your update on animal services?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Clark.
All right. I had emailed
Mr.
these.
Shouldn't Commissioner Johnson be here for it?
He had
Or
to
is it-
step out for a
I'm saying,
moment
but-
and asked me to step in his stead.
Oh, well, you
Right.
prefer I
I'm
do
just
it?
saying, do y'all think he should be here for it, or do y'all think he would just,
I would
I
say
don't know.
let's carry on and
Okay.
I'm sure he can, catch
Okay.
up with the
Okay.
hard data.
Okay, so you guys did get the data?
Yes, sir.
The data
Yes, sir.
reports? Okay, so looking at that first sheet with the 3-year comparison, as it regards to Caddo Parish Animal Services, you can see that the intake is decreasing. Intake has decreased over the past 3 years from 5,800 animals to 5,062 animals to 3,658 animals. 2020 was a trying year, going through the COVID pandemic. We started out the year very bright. We were averaging close to 130 adoptions a month. During COVID, we even got down to the 30s. It was more difficult to get the animals out, but a lot of animal rescues stepped up and were able to help us place these animals with positive outcomes. As you can see by this infographic, and I know it's still bad, 549 animals were humanely euthanized. But if you go back to 2018, it was 2,222. So that's close to 1,500 animals less that were humanely euthanized. We had 2,952 positive outcomes. Positive outcomes being transferred to an animal rescue, adopted, returned to owner, or participating in the trap neuter return program for the community cats. Infographic does show that we accepted 892 owner surrendered animals. I can't say that this is an uptick from 2019. Over the years, we always have animal surrenders for different reasons. The only month that we did not take in an excessive amount of animals was April. I think April was the only month when we took in less than 100 animals. By May, June, we were back in full force, accepting over 300 animals a month. There are other facilities that were not open to taking them. And I know for certain we were getting animals from Texas, we were getting animals from Arkansas, we were getting animals from all over the place. That's not how it's supposed to operate, but I don't want to turn somebody away, because if I turn them away, then I'm sure you guys will end up contacting us asking why. So we did what we needed to do and accepted the animals and tried to place them as best we could. I have the Asilomar report attached as well. That explains the live release rate. We ended the year with 86% of positive outcomes for the animals. This year, for the first quarter, we're above that. Hopefully, we can stay there. I know we have renovations coming up, which may make it more difficult on spacing and restrictions, because certain parts of the facility will have to be shut down so they can make the improvements and upgrades. But we're going to do the best we can with that. As far as the outcome report, I wanted to bring your attention to the outcome report of humane euthanasia for the dogs. As you can see, it was 379 dogs that were humanely euthanized, but 214 of those were pit bull type dogs. Those are the most at-risk dogs that we have in Caddo Parish because there are so many. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
That's page 2 of your report. Is that correct, Mr. Clark?
No, sir. It's
Chart.
called the outcome report. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And the very last page, it just shows the comparison for summons, citations, and warrants. During 2020, we had 119 city summons, 73 parish summons, and 13 warrants were approved. Possibly more warrants than that were written, but depending on the judge and the attorneys and whatnot, they may not feel that it's justified to approve the warrant. And that's my conclusion on the Animal Services update, but we will get an update from Assistant Director Kelvin Samuel for the mosquito control aspect.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clark. I think you've got a couple of commissioners on the board. Commissioner Hopkins.
Okay.
Actually, mine will be under communiques.
Okay. Can you repost Commissioner Parliamentarian Burrell?
Thank you, Mr. BP. My question to you, you mentioned that you take in dogs from Arkansas and Texas. How is that done? People bring their dogs from those states here to this facility?
Well, it's a mistruth that is told to us until we can further investigate the situation and try to track down where these animals come from. We get people that attempt to bring in animals from different places all the time. And sometimes you can't find it out until it's an hour later, but you already have the animal by then, so you just do the best you can to try to help save the animal. Because we don't have anything in our ordinance that states you have to have a Caddo Parish ID to turn in an animal at our facility.
So you wind up tracking the animal, try to track the animal back to their location?
Sometimes we've even had people turn in an animal and you can go and search through their Facebook and see that it was actually their animal and the picture is like a year old, but they said it was a stray, it didn't have a microchip, so how am I to know it didn't come from Southern Hills or it didn't come from Keyville or whatnot,
So to some extent, we're being used as a dump den for animals, if I understand.
At times, yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. I see no other commissioners.
Assistant Director Samuel is going to address the mosquito control aspect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'll be very brief. Of course, it's that time of year again. The mosquito control section's core business continues for public health and safety. The Caddo Parish mosquito control section has been busy all of 2020, combining, a total of 900 square miles for the entire parish of Caddo. We operate on a $500,000 budget. That's the mosquito section in itself. Operating and responding to all 12 districts. All complaints are received and handled accordingly. Currently, we're setting traps and larviciding, means that we're testing standing water for breeding currently. We will start spraying tentatively, well, actually, we'll start Monday, April the 12th. If an emergency arises before then, of course, we'll handle that accordingly. We will start spraying scourge for the mosquitoes. We are distributing BTI granules for rural areas and standing water. Everbridge system is now being utilized, and we currently have at least 161 citizens signed up for mosquito notifications on Everbridge. Of course, there's 3 types of West Nile virus tracked independently. The 3 are, neuroinvasive, fever, and asymptomatic. We ended 2020 season with 6 positive cases just here in Caddo Parish. All 6 cases were neuroinvasive, which is the worst type. So basically, I want to leave everyone to understand that to fight the bite, try not to breed mosquitoes in your backyard. I'll give you a couple examples to fight the bite. Wear mosquito repellent containing at least 15% DEET or higher. Wear long sleeve shirts and pants when outdoors at night especially. Avoid strong perfumes and colognes when outdoors. Close windows and doors at night. Eliminate standing water around your home. Eliminate or turn over unnecessary containers. Clean clogged roof gutters. Clean to chlorinate swimming pools. Disregard old tires. And empty water pans or pet water bowls daily. So basically we ended 2020 with a total of 251 mosquito pool specimen to the lab. That's what we sent. And a total of 27 mosquito specimen came back positive for the year of 2020. So, of course, 2020 was a bad year. Everyone was home quarantining. Everyone was outside. So I think that has a lot to contribute to it, to the high number of cases. So I just wanted to put that tidbit of information out there for the citizens, and thank you.
You got a question, Commissioner Burrell?
Yeah, Mr. Samuels. Where I live, there's I call it a spillway, but it actually drains Queensboro as a tributary that goes to Cross Lake. And it silts in it silts in year round.
All right.
Because there's a drain that comes off the hill and goes to a major drainage ditch that flows right behind my house, and it stops there. Previously, I've gotten the city to come out and do a dredge because it had built up a berm tall enough to start growing trees on it. And what it does, it captures water. So I know that you all spray on the front, but you have this tributary that runs through the subdivision behind these houses. And I've had concern in putting my grandkids out there. We've had dead birds out there, in which I've called you all on to try to test for the virus. What can you all do to help with that situation, or is it a city problem, although it's in the parish too?
So what you could do, Commissioner Burrell, is send me that address, email, and what we'll do, only the mosquito technicians can place out Alticid. It's stronger than the actual BTI granules. So this is a larvicide. It's, like I said, it's much stronger. And when they put that out, that actually just disseminate all larvae until we can figure out what's causing this issue to be repeatedly.
Yeah, because when it builds up, it captures all the trash that comes from Queensboro, and it settles behind my house.
Okay.
And I have pictures of it. I've spoken to the mayor about it, but it really needs to be cleaned out because it is a drainage from the other part of the neighborhood.
Yes, sir.
It used to be navigable, but now they've allowed it to silt in, so nobody put boats in there. So again, I have that issue, so I want to bring it to your attention.
Yes, sir. Once again, I'll have the technicians put out some Alticid. And situations like this, I try to team up with property standards. We tend to work very well trying to handle cases like this. So we'll put those Alticid out for now, and we'll go from there and keep you updated.
Okay. The water is a little high now because of the rain, but when
Yes,
it
sir.
goes down,
It'll still be effective.
Yeah.
It'll still be effective.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Teleferro.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Quick question. I know that every year we kind of get back to the tire issue, in that have we determined, or have we decided what kind of enforcement, if any, are we going to be issuing citations for residences or resident owners that have multiple tires if we're called out there to address their mosquito problem?
Right. So we don't have any teeth for that right now, meaning we don't have any any authority to, cite anyone. But
Is
I
that
have
more of
been-
a code enforcement?
It
Excuse me for
is, and
interruption.
I have been working with them
Okay.
the previous year, so I'll touch bases back
Right.
to see if they got any teeth for that right now.
Yeah, and maybe that would be something along the lines that code enforcement is teamed up with you when you pay these visits, so we're not,
Absolutely.
We're
Yes,
not
sir.
duplicating effort there.
Yes, sir.
That's great. Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
no problem.
I see no other commissioners. Thank Animal Services
Yes, sir.
for the update on what you've been doing in 2020 and what you're doing in 2021. Commissioner Hopkins?
I just want, under communiques, I wanted to let everybody know that on April 19th, the Policies and Procedures Committee will meet to go over our bylaws and any other issues we may have brought to the committee.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes, sir,
Dr.
President Johnson. Just had one other thing to now be included with my report, sir.
Okay.
At our work session on Monday, someone asked us to provide an overview of our process that we use to establish funds. And I sent you an email, a full-page explanation on the process today. And I also put a copy at your stations on what the historical context has been regarding this matter and what the current practice has been.
Okay, thank you, sir. And the next department up on for the update for 2020 and 2021 will be Public Works.
Okay. Okay, sir. All right.
Yeah, Commissioner Jackson, you under administration or communicate?
I'm on a response for responding.
Okay. Go ahead.
Dr. Wilson, I had asked on Monday to provide an update on the RFP for the Housing Trust Fund. Where are we on
Yes,
that?
sir.
It's been about a month now
Yes, sir.
since we talked about it.
It's been developed and it's going through the legal process.
And how long is that gonna take?
I'll get you an answer on that.
Can you get me an answer by the end of this meeting? Because the
Yeah,
attorney is right here.
I know I can ask you, Donna, you're familiar with it?
I thought we had reviewed that and sent that back to purchasing, but I will check.
Okay, all right, we'll get an update for you.
So what's our release date on it? When are we going? Because we met in what, February on it?
Yes, sir, as soon as we get it complete, then we'll go ahead and put it out. So we already appropriated the money for it already.
Right, monies have been appropriated, but I know we're gonna put the RFQ out for the management
Yes.
of it.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes.
and so it's completed the legal review, is that what I understand?
I'm checking now, but I do believe that is the case.
Okay, I would appreciate if we could get an update, and if you could add that
Yeah.
to the administrator's update.
I will.
I'd appreciate it. Also, I submitted a public records request. I believe Commissioner Chavez also asked for it back on 3/26. I asked for the enabling legislation for the budget for each special revenue fund. I said if neither exists, whatever is provided to the auditors suffice. And if that doesn't exist, the statement saying so will suffice. So
Yes, sir.
is there?
Yeah, I think my letter will address that issue for you.
So this is your response to my public records request?
Not per se, but it does address your public records request in nature.
So, I mean, I asked for some specific things. I asked for the audit, whatever y'all submit to the auditors for there.
Yeah.
So when will I get that?
I thought we sent you the special, would you email something already from us?
Right, I got that, but in response, I asked for the specific budgets, and I see here
Okay.
where you're gonna recommend a budget. But I also asked for what y'all submitted to the auditors in the annual, because the statement that was received said, we submit these in our annual audit, external audit. So what do we submit to the external auditors, and how soon will I get that information?
Okay, let me double check for you, and I'll get it for you ASAP.
Will I know it by the end of this meeting? Because
End
I've
of
been
this-
waiting,
end of
I've
this
been waiting
meeting?
since 3/26, March 26th for my information, even really before. But I got a public records request that was sent to me today, that was sent by somebody, and it seemed like their request going in front of mine, and mine is almost a month old.
Oh. Okay.
Were you aware of that? Doc?
That you got a public records request?
That I had a public records request outstanding that nobody had followed up with me. Were you aware of it?
I thought we had given you what you asked for, but if not, I'll go back and find out why we haven't.
Okay, can I get that before this meeting concludes today?
Let me check. I don't know if we haven't. No, we're not the keepers of enabling legislation, I don't believe. I think that's the clerk's position, that he would have that. And I indicated that in the letter I sent you today.
Okay, but whatever you submit to the auditors, who has that? The clerk too?
It's the finance department who will give the auditor what they need. We'll find out.
Okay, all right. And the other thing that I wanted to say,
And whatever document we have would have to be, it could not be, we're in the meeting now.
Okay, yeah.
So we would get that and we can have that tomorrow.
Okay.
so you're gonna have that to me tomorrow?
Yes, sir.
If there is a document that exists, yes, we will have that tomorrow.
Okay. My other question is pertaining to your letter here. Your letter says, and Dr. Wilson, I try my best to come down here and represent what I think is the best of what my constituents ask me to do. I'm not here for any other reason, personal or professional. When we set out to set up the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund, the legal team for the parish of Caddo told me that in order to go forward with that and create that special revenue fund, enabling legislation was required. And we could not transfer funds, or we could not accept funds, or we could not expend funds from a special revenue fund that the commission did not create. And I know that I did not go, and that was in 2017. So make sure, if y'all gonna send public records requests to that old ragtag newspaper, make sure you send them all of the requests, because I didn't just start asking about housing in 2021. I've been talking about housing since 2017. And in 2017, it was you need enabling legislation, but in 2021, there's no requirement for enabling legislation. And I would think, Dr. Wilson, that as the CEO, as I see here, the chief executive, as I always joke with you, the person who eats the big piece of chicken, I would think that you would say, or take a position that let's not operate in the maybe or possible or could, because on our agenda Monday, we unanimously introduced an ordinance that would limit our time limit on speaking to 10 minutes. And what was the purpose for that being put on the agenda? What was the purpose? The purpose was there was nothing definitive in writing that said what our time limit had to be. Some said it was 7 minutes, some said it was unlimited, some said it was 10 minutes. But what we said was we didn't want to deal with the ambiguity. We wanted a clear and consistent policy. And so either I was arbitrarily made to jump through hoops on the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund, or we need to set something up to where this year we are not using legislation, but next year when Commissioner Gaze Watts wants to do something, she's not told, well, that's not required. And then next year when Mario wants to do something, he's told that's required. Where is the leadership on that? Because if I take the leadership on it, everybody's turning over the table, knocking things over, thinking I'm going crazy, and I got a personal vendetta. I don't have a personal vendetta with anybody. I'm looking for consistency. And I'm not getting consistency, Doc, from your team. And that's why it always feel like I'm coming at you. I can't come at Attorney Frazier.
You talk to me. You're right.
I can't come for Haley Bryan. I can't come for Erica Bryan. I'm sorry. I can't come for Ms. Barnett. Well, I was looking at Ms. Bryant, but you see how your staff talk to me? and I apologize. But I'm the one that's got the personal problem, and I apologize. But I didn't interrupt any time. But I can't come for any of them. You're our administrator. Jeff is our clerk. Michelle is our deputy clerk. I can only talk to the people who we have a direct report to as a commission body. I try to operate within the rules. I call you when I have an idea, Commissioner Atkins. I call administration, but every time I call administration, it's like administration starts trying to figure out how can we work around it. I'm telling you how I feel. Just telling you how I feel. And this notion that it's nitpicking or doing something, I'm just looking for us to be consistent on what we say we're doing. I have, and if anybody who has been on this commission body, I keep bringing the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund back to fix it and fix it and fix it, all because I'm being told this is how it's done. This is how it goes, and I'm trying to follow what I'm being told. But here, when we get $42 million, we just want to adopt a budget and move on. We don't want to create it, set out the priorities, set out the goals, talk about how many votes it takes to adopt, how many votes. We don't want to do that with this piece of legislation. And so I want you to know, because we have a lot of offline conversations, I want you to know on the record, I don't have anything, one, personal against you or your staff. I want you to know that. I don't have anything personal to gain. I'm looking for consistency, and that's not asking a whole lot. I may push back on some things, but do know, Ms. Barnett, I'm pushing back because it's what I believe in. It's what I believe in, and it's my convictions. And if there's one thing that I took away from Kamala Harris's acceptance speech was, it was lead with conviction. And that's what I believe in. That's what my fight and my fervor and my passion is about. And I hope that I will get the respect of being a duly elected official for District 3. They elected me. Unanimously last time. So I didn't just start talking about housing in 2021. I put the enabling legislation for the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund because I was told to do that. I was told to. I was here. I was told to do that. Not, Commissioner, you can just put $1 million up and boom, it's created. So I'll be asking this body to be consistent and adopt a policy that requires enabling legislation, just like we're going to adopt a policy that limits the amount of time we talk, just like we adopt a policy on other things, since it's not in black and white at this time. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. And again, Mr. Barnett, I do apologize for saying Brian.
Dr. Wilson.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Jackson.
I can hear you.
Certainly, we respect every commissioner on this horseshoe, and we respect you too. And we don't sit around the 8th floor trying to figure out ways to trip you up. That's not our agenda. And yes, we have worked with you on the Housing Trust Fund. You and I have plenty of conversations on that, and you made some changes on that, because I was under the impression they had a board at one time, and of course you addressed that issue. And in your comments today about getting things standardized, I did address in here on page 1, page 2, and on page 3 that if this body chooses to enact enabling legislation, they could do so. I don't have objection to that. And that's what I said in this letter. If the board still chooses to do that, then that's fine. I don't have an issue with it. You know, the American Rescue Fund, it will come with a lot more details, because just like we received the CARES money, We got the money before we got the details. And you suggested put it in the Housing Trust Fund. We didn't have an issue with that. But we got the enabling legislation on how the program is to be ran weeks later. We were just trying to be proactive in this matter because we know we got the money coming next month. Have it go to the fund that need to go in from the start. That was the only thing. Nothing done conspiracy towards you, no disrespect towards you. I think we treated you with the utmost respect. We never called you out publicly or any other occasion. And certainly, I mean, we've stood here and listened to your comments about us. We had no issues with that. And perhaps, we listened to your feedback and I give you mine. And when I thought that things should have been done differently, you and I talked on the phone about it for hours. So no disrespect from us. We just want to be treated with the same respect we give you.
Commissioner Chavez?
President, I'll yield. I see Attorney Fraser on the board. I believe she wants to speak on this topic.
No, you just asked about the RFP for the disparity study, and those comments were sent back on the 6th. So they're back in purchasing.
Okay. And I'll get you an update, Commissioner, from Valerie on where she's at in the process.
Well, just a clarification, if you don't mind.
Yes,
Can
sir.
I get a timeline on,
Yeah,
timeline? Who's it going to?
She'll have that.
Yeah, give me,
Now the ball is fully in her court. There's been legal review.
Okay,
And
if I can get a
her
timeline.
job is to put it out on the street.
Thank you.
Okay.
Attorney Fraser, you done?
I'm done.
Okay. Commissioner Chavez?
Thank you, President. In regards to the public records request, I did have a couple questions for administration in regards to Resolution 35 of what we've heard today. And I know it's a sensitive resolution. It's a sensitive topic. We had a room full of people that are still here remaining. Mrs. Simpson, you're down here for your son. I know a lot of us in doing investigations before we came to vote today, we gathered information and data. So I just wanted to caution the room of releasing any information, as well as Mrs. Simpson, tell you that the verse Romans 3:23 came to mind for me. And I wanted to tell you this, for all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, because I don't want you to think that there's any judgment here. And this may shock a lot of people, but I met Jesus in Caddo Correctional Center, in CCC. So my hopes is that you can leave here today with the hope that your son met him there as well, so that you can see him again. Because I know it takes a hard heart, soft, to get a seed planted to find the glory of God. So I'm hoping that you leave here rest assured that happened. And I wanted to put this in front of any debate that goes on in a few minutes to let you know that there's a lot of caring in this room, and that none of us are looking with a convictive spirit, that we've all fallen short, that we're all sinners here, and we're all on equal playing ground, regardless if we're elevated on some wooden bench. So I just wanted to give that ahead of time. Dr. Wilson, Ms. Simpson asked, how can she gather the camera data? So I wanted to ask, what's the state statute? What's the relationship? Would that type of public records request come from Ms. Simpson to us or to the sheriff's office? And what is the legal dynamics of the Caddo Parish Commission in relationship to the jail, to Caddo Correctional Center, so that we can clarify that? I've been getting a lot of phone calls about Resolution 35 and who's ultimately responsible. And I know you as the parish administrator could help clear this up on where the responsibility lies for the jail, for the funding, for the budgetary. I'd like you to put that out ahead of time before we get into our debate on that later on in this meeting.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson.
Talk to you now. Okay. The only funding we provide for the Caddo Correction Center is for the maintenance and the upkeep of the facility, because the parish own it. The operation of the facility comes under the auspices of the Caddo Parish Sheriff Department, and I believe the sheriff receives a tax operating millage to operate the jail too. And we get one, and also does he as well than us. We get one, and the sheriff get a operating millage as well. but ours go towards the maintenance and care of the facility. His towards the operation of the facility. So if someone wants to do a public records request, the sheriff is the keeper of the knowledge in regarding to a prisoner's welfare and well-being, not the Cal Parish Commission.
Okay.
We have nothing to do with that part of the operation, only the facility part. So I think the request would have to go to the sheriff for public information, because we are not the keepers or the possessors of that information.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Wilson. We had a lot of people request a lot of information, and I want to make sure that they know where to go to get it, or that we could assist in that process. Thank you, President.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to follow up on another question for Dr. Wilson, or it might be for Ms. Barnett, because it's a budget question. I remember, and it relates to Commissioner Chavez's question about footage. I remember seeing security camera upgrades on our budget several times. It's a big number. Do we own the lease on those cameras? And what
Yes.
control does that give us over the footage?
Yes, sir. We install and operate, maintain the cameras.
For the purpose of supervising the facility, making
No,
sure
sir.
that things are recorded there?
The sheriff operate them. We install and maintain them, and he operates the cameras and also the video as well.
What is the purpose of the cameras, in your
For-
opinion?
To monitor for security and compliance issues.
And I was told when I toured the facility that it was also so that we would have information regarding liabilities that might arise. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. It's just a plethora of reasons why we have it. We have cameras in all our facilities, even the courthouse.
So if
just in case there's some litigation, somebody have an accident, we can go back and validate, looking at the footage from that time period.
Exactly. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. That's all.
Commissioner Burrell.
Well, with Commissioner Chavez and JP bringing that up, it just brings a question to mind. You're saying, Dr. Wilson, we don't have really any legal jurisdiction or liability in this situation as it relate to this
Yes, sir.
this situation over there, because there seemed to be some public confusion that we control certain aspects of the facility because we own the building. But when I'm hearing you say that we don't have that jurisdiction here.
Okay, that's a pretty complex question, Commissioner Burrell. You know, we own a facility just like we own 28 facilities throughout Cal Parish. If there's something wrong with the facility fault-wise and led to someone being injured, yes, we would be responsible for maintaining it, or failing to maintain a facility. But I think that's where we have to draw the line in some regards. Did the facility cause the action, or the action occurred some other way? So that would probably have to defer to Attorney Frazier on that, on the rest of that answer.
That's our only liability in this situation, because I think it's very, very unclear to the public that we have a certain amount of control over what goes on over there because we own the building.
Yeah.
But what I'm hearing you say that we do not.
We have control to the extent that we are maintaining the systems properly.
Okay.
But we do not operate in internal operations day to day.
But President Johnson did take the proper action to submit a letter to those who could be responsible for some answers.
I think from what he described, he took the proper actions he thought were appropriate.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. Seeing no other commissioners, next item, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, the next item we have is the 2021 Notice of Intent. I just need to read it into the record.
Okay.
Notice is hereby given that the Caddo Parish Commission of Caddo Parish, Louisiana plans to consider ordinances to adopt or levy the parish's ad valorem tax millages for properties within the parish of Caddo at the meeting on Thursday, May 20th, 2021 at 3:30 p.m. at the Government Plaza Building at 505 Travis Street, Shreveport, Louisiana. At this meeting, the parish will consider adoption of its general purpose millages, special purpose millages, and debt service millage. The parish will also consider adoption of the values fixed to be fixed by the Louisiana Tax Commission on all assessments for railways and other public service corporations, and consider setting the assessment of property classified as timberlands.
Thanks,
And
Zion.
with that, that brings us to our next item, which is the President's report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Last week, I mentioned Monday, but last week, I did have a conversation with Colonel Davis with the Louisiana State Police. And he told me the proper process to try to get the state police to come into the CCC facility. So on Monday, I requested that Sheriff Prater do an independent investigation, and Sheriff Prater responded back indicating that the public trusts him because he had 6 terms in office, and that from that process that he felt that it was his investigations were good. From that told me basically that he does not want an independent investigation. So my next step is to write the governor of the state of Louisiana, Governor John Bel Edwards, requesting an independent investigation. This will be what is done in all other 63 parishes. And so I wanted to make sure that we follow the same process that the other parishes are following. I want the public to know that this is not unusual to have an independent investigation on the death in the facility. Of all the deaths that I've known that have happened in the state of Louisiana, not just in the prison, but at different facilities, they do an internal and an external investigation. The external investigation typically comes from a federal agency or a state agency, but it is another agency that comes in to do an independent investigation. In those investigations, typically what you'll have is they will either match up, or that you will find that one incident investigation has a gap. And in that gap, that's how you prevent that particular incident from happening again. From the discussion earlier with the cameras, I know we purchased the cameras, and basically what you just said, Dr. Wilson, we have responsibility for liability of all the facilities that we have. Being that there was a death in that facility, that to me says that there's some liability that we have. Even though the sheriff operates it, we own the building, and we buy the stuff for the building. And so I think my next step will be to ask for a public records request from the Caddo Parish Commission on the sheriff investigation, also the coroner's report or his investigation, and even both, if he has both, and also the camera data on Casey Simpson. If we bought the cameras, then we ought to be able to request the data for the cameras. My next subject is dealing with the American Rescue Act. I'm forming a committee on that. It would be Commissioner Carthon, Commissioner Atkins, Commissioner Gage Watts, Commissioner Hopkins, and myself. That would complete the president's report.
All right, the next item on our agenda is public
Hold on,
hearing.
Jeff, before you go, Commissioner Gage Watts was on the board before I started, and I got Commissioner Burrell. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I just want to say condolences to the family of Mr. Simpson. You deserve answers. Laura, you probably don't remember me, but you were, I love you, and I'm supporting you all the way. Laura was one of the first people to do my nails when I was as young as 12 years old, when she came from California to Shreveport at Ram Shack. Some of you too young to remember that, and I probably remember when Laura was carrying Casey. So this is something that is very, very, very heartbreaking to me. It's unfortunate that we as commissioners don't always get notifications or alerts when something happened in our respective districts, like the city of Shreveport City Council does. So a lot of times we're not aware that there has been a murder or a gunshot wound in those areas. Nevertheless, anytime I do hear about it, know about it, it breaks my heart. Not just for me, because I am the mother of 3 young African-American males, but because I know what it is to be a mother, to be a sister, to be an aunt. that their heartbreak remains the same. You know, today, the whole room gasped when I was accused of not being there for District 7 or for the community, because most of these commissioners, even the new ones, probably know that some of the first things that I talk about is crime and violence in our communities. When I say initiate those conversations, they're not just conversations about what's going on and how heartbreaking it is. They come with initiatives like Stop the Violence in 2016, when I made a public plea to initiate the National Guard, because these are catastrophes in our community. We initiate and activate the National Guard when there are floods. And this is what we're having over and over again. The rally produced a movement, and it began at these hands. It produced hope. It produced results, because we listened to what the people said that they needed, asking what is the problem and how can we fix it. I promise you, if you don't know, I am not your enemy. I'm an advocate for what's right. I always stand up for what is right. And I understand that we're dealing with things that is bigger than us. We're dealing with a crack cocaine epidemic that we were called thugs for having those issues. But now that we have other types of epidemics like opioids, they're considered, you know, sickness. But we are dealing with what wasn't dealt with 40 years ago. And I understand that. I understand that we're dealing with children who grew up territorial, gangs, whatever those problems are. Nevertheless, I'm for expungements. I'm for gun buyback programs, Ring doorbell apps, cameras, lighting, cleaning up blighted properties. This resolution today, I'm for it. I'm willing to throw it all up against the wall to see what sticks at this point, because I don't believe that none of us have the answer. And I know that no one deserves to die at the hands of a common civilian or the police. Whatever happened, you deserve answers. And I also want to say that I can't leave without saying this. I also believe that prayer must be incorporated into this, because I do believe that prayer still works. Because my Bible has declared to me that I am righteous. And I know that it rains on the just as well as the unjust. And I'll never stop praying. And I believe that prayer changes people and it changes situations. God's ears are not closed. Who I am owes no explanation to no one. What I do is not for TV, not for the front page or the paper, but it's all for the glory of God and for his people. If this resolution does not pass today, Lord, I want you to know that the necessary steps has already been taken. President Lyndon B. Johnson stated in his president's report that the next process will begin with Governor John Bell Edwards. Let's not fight each other through this. We have the power to fight together. Then we can begin to heal. Thank you.
Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What I want to do is try to get a point of clarification here, because there are several things that has been said in my brain that kind of contradict. In our sidebar just a few minutes ago, when I was asking you, you know, if the state or governor is requested to do an outside investigation, can the sheriff refuse it? I'm still not quite sure on that, but when...
No, he cannot.
He cannot, okay. I didn't think so, but that wasn't clear. But then when I asked the administrator what responsibilities that we had in this matter or jurisdiction, it was my understanding in the reply that we don't really have jurisdiction or particular liability in this. Am I understanding that correct?
Mr. President, if I may, if it pleases the body, I will make a motion to suspend the rules, because we kind of talking about the resolution. So if we wanted to suspend the rules, I'm not trying to cut you off, Commissioner Burrell, but if we want to suspend the rules and go ahead and
Well, what he's doing is, he's talking about the president's report.
Oh,
and
okay.
The process I was using.
I got you. It may
As
be-
as a point of, as opposed to Resolution 35.
Okay.
Right.
Hey, I can't hear him down here. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Okay, well, let me speak up, be a little bit more clear.
Commissioner Burrell?
I posed that question
Yes.
because it seemed to contradict what we were discussing.
Yeah. Could I get Attorney Frazier to address the question on liability for you?
Okay.
Commissioner, it's well settled law that the parish has, the governing body has the duty to maintain the jail, and they own the jail. However, the sheriff has the responsibility of the running of the jail and the care of prisoners.
I understand that.
Now, say for instance, I'm gonna give you an example of a case we've once had where there was a prisoner who slipped and fell at the jail and was injured, which of course is nowhere near rising to the magnitude of this. But because it was determined, that person sued both the parish of Caddo and the Caddo Parish Sheriff because it was determined that there was a defect in the clothing, particularly the shoes that were issued by the sheriff's office, and it was not due to any defect in the flooring or anything with building maintenance. The parish was dismissed from that lawsuit. That is the way usually things happen because of the way the case law is stretched. Now, you're in a bit of a different situation because you have a death. And what the state police commander has told the president is that if he wants to invite, if the sheriff refuses to invite an independent investigation, then he has given steps to the commission president to request an outside investigation. And so it is my understanding that that procedure is what the commission president is following. That may end up having an effect on some liability, but you don't know until you know.
Okay. All right, well, I understand that better than the president does have the right to request an outside source to come in that could not necessarily be refused or either, and at the same time, it does not place any additional responsibility on the commission here. This is his responsibility
Well,
that he has.
let me clarify.
Okay.
So, the request goes to the governor of Louisiana. The governor then will tell the Louisiana State Police that they will be doing a independent investigation in Caddo Parish.
Okay.
And CCC.
Okay.
And then that's how that rolls.
All right.
So it's not my request to the governor, but it's to the governor to involve the Louisiana State Police. The state police will then come in and do the investigation. The mayor can also do it too.
Okay.
But since we own the facility, it falls on the parish president
Right.
primarily.
Okay, then, well, that's how I understood it at first, but when it was brought up about, we may not have any jurisdiction, then I wondered if that counteracted what the president was saying. But he does have the responsibility, and he's done his responsibility, so I'm fine with it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson, you on the board?
I mean, since we're talking about who does what, I just want to point out that there are some agencies out there that don't need anybody's permission to come in and look. And they don't need anybody to tell them to come look either.
FED?
So just wanted to put that out there.
All right, next item.
Next item is public hearing on zoning ordinances and cases. We have none on zoning today. That brings us to the next item, which is public hearing on ordinances, of which we have 3 today. The first item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6044 of 2021. And it's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the capital outlay fund, the oil and gas fund, and the general fund for the year 2021 to provide an appropriation of $333,000 to support the medical, education, and emerging viral threats building, and to otherwise provide with respect thereto from the economic.
Can we open them all
Public
at
hearing
one
is
time?
now open for ordinance number 6044 of 2021.
Can we do them all at one time?
Yeah, we can do them all. Go ahead, Jeff.
Okay, you want me to
And I'll
continue?
open it up then.
Okay, the next item is public hearing for ordinance number 6045 of 2021. It's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Economic Development Fund to provide an appropriation of $50,000 for the Port City Fest and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. And the final item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6046 of 2021. It's an ordinance to amend Article 3 of Chapter 18 of the Code of Ordinances relative to the provisions for flood hazard protection to meet revised standards regarding Class 8 flood standards in accordance with Community Rating System and Federal Emergency Management Agency requirements, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Public hearing is now open for ordinance 6044 of 2021, 6045 of 2021, and 6046 of 2021. If anyone wants to speak for or against either one of those ordinances. Seeing no one, I now say that the ordinances are now closed on public hearings on ordinance 6044, 6045, and 6046 of 2021.
Okay, that brings us to our next item, which would be zoning ordinances for final passage, of which we have none today. And that brings us to ordinances for final passage, where you will see the three ordinances that you just had the public hearing on. 14.1 is ordinance number 6044 of 2021.
Mr. President, I move that we adopt ordinance number, and Glovo and adopt ordinance 6044, 6045, and 6046.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Jack and seconded by Commissioner Gage Watts to adopt in global and adopt ordinances 6044, 6045, 6046 of 2021. Commissioner Jackson, you want to speak on that motion?
I'll just say briefly, I think Commissioner Cawthorn and his committee has vetted all of these. I think they're worthy projects and a great thing to get our economy going on. Jeff, did we also include that amendment on here, that if it's eligible? Okay, so I think they've done a great job at vetting them, and they're good projects for our parish and moving our parish forward. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, and 6046 is dealing with the flood rating, that flood hazard protection, so that one's been vetted through Public Works. Seeing no one, let's vote on those three.
All right, that passes with 11 in support, none in opposition, and 1 absent. So the motion carries, and that brings us to zoning ordinances for introduction by title, of which we have none. So moving on to ordinances for introduction by title. Today we have a number of ordinances for introduction, and I'll begin. 16.1 is to introduce ordinance number 6047 of 2021, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Economic Development Fund to provide an appropriation of $25,000 for the Shreveport-Bossier African American Chamber of Commerce and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item, 16.2, introduce ordinance number 6048 of 2021. It's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Economic Development Fund and Riverboat Fund to provide an appropriation of $35,000 for Gameport exhibition at Cyport and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is 16.3, introducing ordinance number 6049 of 2021. An ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures of the Oil and Gas Fund to provide an appropriation of $100,000 for the ESO fire reporting system and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. And the final ordinance for introduction today is ordinance number 6050 of 2021. It's an ordinance adopting the budget of estimated revenues for the American Rescue Plan Fund and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. And that brings us to the next item on your agenda, which is the adoption of the work session minutes.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Commissioner Cawthorn, seconded by Commissioner Gage Watts to adopt the work session minutes from April the 5th, 2021. Let's vote.
And that motion carries with 11 in support and 1 absent. That brings us to resolutions, where the first item is resolution number 3031 of 2021. It's a resolution urging and requesting the United States Congress to pass the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act of 2021 and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
I move to englobo resolution number 31, resolution number 32, and resolution number 33.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner
Put
Gage
in
Watts.
global in advance.
Englobo and adopt.
Yeah. It's been moved by Commissioner Gage Watts and seconded by Commissioner Atkins to englobo resolution 31, 32, and 33 of 2021.
Mr. President, I would like to speak on resolution 31 and 32, if I may.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Commissioners, resolution number 31 is in response to the swelling anti-Asian violence that's attacking the Asian community across the country. Hate crimes are unacceptable regardless of race, creed, or stature. These are human lives, and data confirms that hate against Asian has risen to 150% in many major cities since the pandemic. If Congress passed the Hate Crimes Act, it would dedicate Department of Justice staff to manage and expedite review of federal, state, and local hate crimes related to COVID-19, as well as provide guidance to government and law enforcement. I ask for your support in passing this resolution. I also wore blue today for all of my friends and families living with autism. I'm grateful to pause and recognize their strength and tenacity in battles that most of us couldn't imagine. We raise awareness with the nation to proclaim April as Autism Awareness Month and continue the fight for their sense of purpose and that nothing will ever be limited to help them achieve their dreams. Please join me in supporting these resolutions. Thank you.
Seeing no one else, let's vote on those three.
We should have had these when Jim Smith was here.
All right, that motion carries with 8 in support, 3 in opposition, and 1 absent. And that brings us to our next item, which is resolution number 34 of 2021. It's a resolution declaring the month of April 2021 as Minority Health Month in Caddo Parish, recognizing the health inequalities facing minorities and encouraging the parish of Caddo to promote and support programs and activities that promote healthfulness in minority communities and other health disparities related to COVID-19, and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
Been moved by Commissioner Jackson to adopt resolution 34 and seconded by Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Jackson, you want to speak on that motion?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. This resolution is really a national resolution with the Office of Minority Health. We are working with LSU Health Science Center. I saw Anita here. I don't know who's taking her place as the grants person, but we're working the Office of Minority Health with the Health and Human Services has put out a grant where the parish could possibly be eligible for $4 million. I think we're focusing on urban areas. The parish as a whole, okay, I don't want to, the parish as a whole is classified as urban because of our population. They define urban as that. And then there's 2 million eligible for rural, but the parish as a whole, our population is about 240,000. So when I say parish as a whole, we're considered urban, but that does include North Caddo and South Caddo. So I want to be clear about that, and Greenwood for Commissioner Epperson. It does not come with any matching fund requirements. We're not guaranteed to get it. It's a competitive program. My hope is that we have some of the best grant writers working on this with the LSU Health Science Center around some of the work that they've been doing with 100 Men of Shreveport with COVID-19 testing. If we were not the first parish to do mobile testing, we were one of the very, very few that started out doing mobile community testing. And so that's sort of the concept, is how do you get into communities that are disproportionately affected by COVID-19, that also includes the rural communities, and educate them on the importance of getting tested, educate them on the importance of getting the vaccine. It's not mandating them to do anything. It's just about how do you educate. It's an education and awareness thing. It's a 2-year grant if we are successful. And hopefully, I saw our Facebook page shared something the other day about, vaccines and things of that nature. And that's basically all this resolution does is, we can go out to one of the, I think I saw where somebody's doing something at Galilee around vaccines, and some of the churches are doing it with Ochsner's and LSU Health Science Center, and just go and show the parish's support for those kind of things of getting into the community to be able to get individuals vaccinated and ready. So that's what I mean by the parish using our communication channels to get out. Dr. Connie Arnold has proposed an idea of maybe hosting a Zoom kind of fireside chat, just like we did with the housing deal. Maybe hosting a Zoom chat talking about, the vaccine efficacy and things of that nature. So this doesn't commit the parish to $1. No money is attached to it. In fact, there are no matching funds required from the parish to even participate in the program. So hopefully we are lucky to receive one of those. Only 46 will be awarded, and so hopefully we are one of those 46 localities that will be awarded for that. I ask for your favorable passage of this. Thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. Commissioner Jackson, I'll be supporting this. I did have a constituent reach out and say we should be more worried about everybody's health, and I do agree with her. However, as representation for the largest minority group in Shreveport, if you go to the doctor, typically the Hispanics are the worst of health, and the African American. But let's face it, it's because we know how to cook. So we don't always eat the best, but I'm glad you put this on here. And ultimately, it's personal decisions and it's education. So I know if we could push out the education on, maybe not eating a burrito for breakfast every morning, but maybe just on Fridays, I think we can help out the community and get our health bill down a little bit. So thanks for putting this on here. Thank you, President.
Thank you.
Let's vote.
That motion carries with 11 in support, none in opposition, and 1 absent. And that brings us to the next item on our agenda, which is resolution number 35 of 2021.
So move for adoption.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Jackson and seconded by Commissioner Carthon to adopt resolution 35 of 2021. Commissioner Jackson, you want to speak to your motion?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I hadn't said much about it. I know I did a couple of interviews. I even asked Mr. Lafitte when the NAACP, you'll attest to it, when they put it out, take my name off of it, because I don't want anybody to think that this is about me. I've heard a lot of conversations, but let me be clear, this is about establishing a process. Let me thank Commission President Lyndon Johnson for sending the letter, but as one of the speakers mentioned, he will not always be the commission president. John Bell Edwards will not always be the governor, and we will not always have the same state police colonel. What this is about is establishing a process by which we are notified, as Commissioner Gage Watts. This death happened on March 16th. I called Dr. Wilson last week, and he told me they were not notified of the death until March 29th. So even the CEO of the parish didn't know a death had happened in a facility that we own. And so it's not necessarily about CCC and Sheriff's Office, as some folks like to spin that narrative out there in the media world. This is not about that. This is about knowing what is going on. The state legislature, and I argued this point to Dr. Wilson, the state legislature does not run the day-to-day operations of LSU campus, Baton Rouge campus. They have no operational say in the day-to-day operations of the LSU campus. But there are no less than 10 bills filed right now in the legislature requiring and mandating higher education campuses to deal with sexual assault in the wake of all of this stuff that has happened on college campuses, particularly LSU. They don't run the day-to-day operation, but they have oversight and they have accountability to the public. CCC is run on public tax dollars. The Juvenile Detention Center, Clay, if he's here, or Andrew, public tax dollars. All of our park and recreations, Mr. Wesley, public tax dollars. Animal services, Travis, public tax dollars. All of these facilities we own. And all it's saying is, if there's a death, we should at least know. And as Commission President pointed out, we shouldn't just rely solely on the internal investigation. We should at least ask, not demand, not require, but ask an external entity to look into it. Who doesn't want somebody to say, you got it right, you're in the clear? Now, I've heard all of this about who's responsible for what, but what I'm, Dr. Wilson, who pays the health care bills at CCC?
The parish does.
The who?
The parish does.
And we adopt that in our budget, right?
That's correct.
That $4 million that I've been down here harping about that's growing every year, those are y'all dollars. Who, or isn't the sheriff reimbursed for per inmate per day over there, or per month?
There's an allowance fee per inmate per month.
He
per
gets
day,
it.
per month.
So he got an allowance for Mr. Simpson, didn't he? So how do we get to this point where this notion that, oops, we have absolutely, we pay the health care bills over there, y'all. And if the man died of a health care reason, how can we just walk over and say, well, we gonna pay his health care bills, but we ain't responsible for none of that other stuff? I've heard about HIPAA. Ms. Sabbath, that nobody has told you, I'm not no lawyer, but you are his next of kin, and you can consent. You have the right under 45 CFR, HHS. I work in healthcare, y'all, so I do a quarterly training on HIPAA. I work in healthcare, quarterly training on what HIPAA is and what HIPAA is not. You can request, ma'am, and you're owed that, because you're his parent. His children is right here. I'm not making it up. You're entitled to have access to his public health information. You're entitled to that. Mr. Clerk and Deputy Clerk, do y'all have those letters that I had requested to put up on the screen?
We did.
We're asking for notice. This is a letter that we get every month telling us what comes in and what comes out. This resolution doesn't ask for anything other than that right there. That's all we're asking for. And I would hope we don't get that kind of letter every month, because if we do, something really is going on from any of our facilities.
Commissioner,
Dr.
time has
Wilson?
expired.
But
Is there a motion to extend from someone?
Motion to extend.
3
sorry,
minutes.
and I appreciate you. I just wanted to get this out there. We're not asking for anything that don't seem to already be being done. And I know it's being portrayed as we're picking on somebody or we're singling somebody out. I give you my word. I'm not singling anybody out. That's why when I talked to Dr. Wilson and his team last week, I said, I don't even know how to write this up. But if you look at the resolution, we don't say anybody is right. We don't say anybody is wrong. We just say we want to know what happened. And I realize that we don't have the right to force anybody or the authority to force any entity to tell us, other than parish entities, to tell us what's going on. So I allowed the family to be able to notify us, because had Ms. Sabbath not put it on her Facebook page, nobody would have known. Nobody. And so we've got to have standard operating procedures. We cannot just operate on relationships, because again, this year we'll do an investigation for Mr. Simpson, but next year we won't do investigation for Mrs. John Doe. And it just goes back and forth, and people never get no peace. So, Ms. Sabat, I know your pain. My mother went to Ram Shack, by the way. Ms. Patricia Blaze, before she passed away, she got her hair done at Ram Shack. But if for no other reason to give the families, this resolution looks forward, not back. It looks forward. And that's my hope that we will do, is we will look forward to establishing a process and procedure by which we know what's going on and we get an independent eyes looking at everything that took place. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. Commissioner John Atkins, Vice President.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we table Resolution 35 until the process that Commissioner President Johnson has initiated has been completed. If I can get a second, I'll explain.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Atkins, second by Commissioner Chavez to table Resolution 35. Go ahead.
Thank you. Several people in the audience, including Mr. Marvin Muhammad, mentioned that checks and balances are necessary. I agree with that. Checks and balances are necessary. But checks and balances are in place. The Caddo Parish Commission, in my mind, is not the body that should be evaluating law enforcement officers. State police is the proper body to investigate this issue. The sheriff, the mayor, and or the Caddo Parish president all can request review. So it takes three people that would be that would refuse a review, or that would not be willing to request a review for a review not to take place. So any one person could not prevent the review from taking place. So President Johnson has taken the proper steps. He has he's preparing a letter to the governor, and I think the existing process in place for a proper review currently exists, and I don't see the need personally for another process to be imposed here. Thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Talaferro.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. You know, my address is primarily to Ms. Sabbath and the family of Mr. Simpson. As a former law enforcement officer, I know only too well the pain and the suffering that goes along with the death of a loved one. I've written to my fellow commissioners my thoughts on the process, and as Mr. Muhammad stated during his testimony here, that it is about focusing on procedures. And I want to tell you that I've thought clearly and hard on this resolution, and I do appreciate President LBJ for bringing this to our attention and starting the wheels in motion. And I've offered the framework to each of my fellow commissioners to, you know, for future reporting of similar incidences. So if I may, I wanted just to tell you how I feel from a former law enforcement standpoint, and also as a person who feels and understands your pain. For a majority of members of the first responders and military community, there's no greater feeling of sickness or helplessness than to have a person under your care and custody experience a serious injury or death, especially on your watch. You know, make no mistake, the death of Mr. Simpson, you know, was tragic and significant to those, even those who attempted to save his life, you know, at that time of his death. And it leaves an imprint on all affected, whether we believe it or not. In my experience, the first 48 hours are the most critical during an investigation, especially surrounding a person's death. And that information gleaned from that part of the investigation must be carefully obtained, analyzed, and safeguarded until the conclusion of the investigation, when the results are posted by either the chief law enforcement officer or in concert with the coroner's office. You know, in the initial or subsequent stages of any investigation, it's the chief law enforcement officer's prerogative, you know, to enlist assistance from an outside agency where additional experience or expertise may be necessary and valuable to investigate the case in a timely manner to achieve the results. Immediately requesting a third-party inquiry, I believe, or an investigator prior to the conclusion of the initial investigation would be premature and detrimental to the overall effectiveness of the responsible law enforcement agency. Now, keep in mind, we are talking about establishing procedures, just like Commissioner Jackson eloquently stated as well. With any investigation, as many of you know, that if the conclusions are in question by either a family member, a civic organization, a government entity such as us, who believe that with cause and their evidence of their own, that an investigation may have been biased or requires an additional investigation to be conducted, either evidence was missed or misrepresented or misinterpreted, we all have the right, and we are encouraged to seek an outside investigative authority to reevaluate the case. So what I'm saying is we are not here to put any roadblocks up on a reinvestigation of any case going forward. My concern is that in the way this resolution is written, it is too broad, especially in where it requests the parish administrator to, it says the parish administrator requests an independent third-party inquiry from a non-Caddo parish law enforcement entity within a 48-hour period. The reason I mention that is because in a 48 to 72-hour period, investigations are often not completed. And you as a family member, me as a family member, or as a citizen, and in this body want a thorough investigation. So I've submitted some verbiage that I think will accommodate everything that we want to set forth to make this resolution tight, and we're focusing on the procedures going forward, not just what happened to Mr. Simpson, but in the event that something happens down the road, you know, we have a solid resolution, which will take us forward to make sure that we do the right things and focus on good procedures. Thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Caddo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think when citizens come to this body, every 12 commissioners sit around this horseshoe represent a district, and we represent people. We can get into the minutia process and how things should work. We look around this country, we begin to see the extraction of the decreasing of democracy and the decreasing of people being heard. People that came in here today, and my heart goes out for the family of Casey Simpson, his mom, and the comments people have made have been heartfelt. And what I want people to do when they leave here today is to have a takeaway from the Caddo Parish Commission. That you can take away today that was a two-pronged approach that was considered by this body, whether Resolution 35 passes or not. So what Commissioner Johnson has done is one thing that we could do looking at this currently and in contemporary context. And what Mr. Jackson is proposing is looking at what happens as we move down the road. And so when you guys walk out of here today, you will know that the Caddo Parish Commission heard your voices, heard your concerns, and want to address the issue. And you not be confused as how we gonna move forward when you walk out those doors today. And so once again, I send my heartfelt condolences to the family, but it's always a beautiful thing when you see the tapestry of democracy and people coming forward to demand that the people that sit around this horseshoe be responsive to your needs. Thank you.
Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, thank you, Mr. President. I'm one to sit and listen and try to analyze everybody's viewpoint and try to possibly come up with a solution. But before you can come up with a solution, you have to ask questions that hopefully that would be answered in order to come up with possible solutions. So while I was sitting there listening at all of the discussion around, I came up with 3 questions. And the first question was, does the resolution nullify or supersede the letter by the president to the governor? The second question is, are these competing initiatives for the investigation? The third question is, after I heard Commissioner Talaferro mention something about 48 hours, is it the time element in this resolution that's creating the problem, or is it something else? So I'm asking, Mr. President, either you can answer that or someone else can answer those questions for me, and I would like to know for a point of clarification.
Okay, so, and this is my opinion, The first question you asked, does
it nullify?
Does a resolution nullify what I've already started? I would say no to that.
Okay.
When I talk on the board, when I talk in a minute, I'll tell you in depth the reason why I say no. What was the second question?
The second question, are these competing initiatives for the investigation?
No. Basically, as I was going to say when I got on the board, this being March, I'm going to do a little similarity here. This being March, you had March Madness, and basically, if you follow basketball, you know about full court press. It's time for a full court press.
Go ahead.
All right. So, as many letters that we can get to request the sheriff to do that, I think we ought to be doing that. The president of NAACP is here. They should have a letter sending it out. Black Matters Lives, they should have a letter sending that. Any other organization, they should have a letter sending to to the sheriff, requesting an independent investigation. Let them respond to each one of those. If he doesn't respond, then we follow the same process. We write that same letter to the governor. The governor get tired of seeing stuff coming from Caddo Parish. So this is not saying that the sheriff did anything wrong, but at the same time, the people that have elected us as commissioners, and all these people come from different parts of the parish. They all not coming from one district. They're coming from different parts of the parish. And such, I've heard so many times about how people elect us and transparency. I hear about that all the time. I mean, that's some of the common words of the Republican Party is transparency. So this is nothing more than being transparent to the people who have asked. We want to see more than what has already been shown. I think Ms. Sabbath, she's asked for the video, and that hasn't been produced. She asked for medical records. That hasn't been produced to her. She's probably also asked for the report that the sheriff has done. That hasn't been produced. Now, I know he was waiting on the coroner's report as well, but based on what she said, the coroner has reported that it was death by natural causes. She wants to be able to put all that together and to see. And so, the more people engage and say, we want to see this, or we want to have an independent investigation, it puts more pressure to the sheriff to either do it, and if he refuses it, then we move up the chain to the governor or to other outside agencies that could come in and do it.
Well, based on your explanation, Mr. President, my first question was answered. It does not nullify, nor does it supersede your letter to the governor. The second question was, are these competing initiatives? And you said no. Another thing that you mentioned, that the more the merrier in order to push this forward. My third question was, is it a time element in here, the 48 hours, that seemed to cause some angst over this? If we can amend that, or if we could satisfy that requirement, if that's an obstacle, it appears that there is no reason why this resolution shouldn't go forward. Now that would be my analysis of the whole thing, because everything has been satisfied based upon your explanation, Mr. President. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. In doing some investigation on this, I did find out that Mr. Simpson was a Department of Corrections hold, which is a good thing, because I know you want to leave here with some answers. And what I mean by that is, in the information I gathered, the Department of Corrections falls under the state of Louisiana, so I was advised that the state police are going to do an investigation regardless of what happens here. So as Commissioner Cawthorn stated, when we leave out of here, there's going to be a state police that will be launched an investigation via the Department of Corrections and simultaneously from the President's letter that he thankfully already wrote. So I don't want you to leave here thinking that regardless if it passes or does not pass. Commissioner Jackson's resolution, there are parts of it that I definitely want to support, that we definitely need transparency. But I think that it's rushed in the manner that we have not got with our legal, got with the Sheriff's Department, figured out the state statute on the prison, who's ultimately responsible with the dealings within, to figure out if this is the best way going forward. So I definitely want you to have the answers, and just like Commissioner Jackson said personally, that he'll help you get this data, so will I. You could reach out to me. I wanted to know how you get the camera data. I want to help you get the information that you have. So if you get no other answers, feel free to call me all day long. This was your baby, and I understand that this is hard. I understand what you're going through. Trust me, I've been exactly where your baby was. I know exactly what he went through. So I just don't think at this time that I'm willing to pass this, that I think tabling it and waiting at least a week or two to find out what the state investigations comes. And if it comes suspicious, I'm going to be right there with you demanding that they pass this. But I still am not comfortable enough to mandate that we pass this and tell the sheriff how to do his job. And I'm being honest with you, because I think I've talked to a lot of people, and they think that this specific case, that there was no foul play. And I'm just telling you what I heard. But I agree that transparency needs to happen. So I don't want you to leave here to think that this failed. There's two routes going forward where I believe that the investigation is going to go forward, and you're going to get the answers. We're going to get the answers. And I applaud Commissioner Jackson for bringing this forward, because ultimately this will start the conversation where we will achieve transparency at CCC. And I'm speaking if this doesn't pass. This may pass, but I just want you to leave here feeling comforted.
I'm not, because I talked to the they said that only the sheriff could do this.
Ma'am, y'all have to be quiet until we get through with this. Are you done, Commissioner?
I'm done, President.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson, you was on our ratio first.
Mr. President, I just want to note for the record that to emphatically answer Commissioner Burrell's question, this resolution does not compete. I agree we need a full court press, but I want to be very clear. This resolution covers all of Caddo Parish, and I keep hearing the sheriff, the sheriff, the sheriff. This covers all of Caddo Parish, and this is a policy, and so by tabling it, we still won't have the policy in place. I'm sorry, ma'am. Hold on, y'all. Let us do our work. If we table this, there's still no policy put in place. And how long can the investigation take? John Bell Edwards is trying to deal with a pandemic, and he's got a legislative session that starts next Monday. Is this gonna float to the top of his? We need a policy in place, long-term, sustainable. Thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Carter.
Call for the question.
Sir.
I'd like to hear what John Paul said.
Well, I think you spoke.
He don't
already,
talk a
John?
lot.
You haven't?
Yeah.
Okay. So you still want your motion?
John wants to speak.
Call for the question.
Yeah.
Did he get a second?
Well, go ahead, John.
Go ahead, John.
Thank you, Mr. President. Since this is a controversial issue, I just wanted to be strict about what we're voting on. There's 4 short sentences. If there's a death on Caddo Parish property, we are the supervisors of Caddo Parish property, full stop, right? Nobody else supervises Caddo Parish property but us and the people we employ to do it. We're elected to do that. If somebody dies on Caddo Parish property, we must be notified. I suppose that means calling Dr. Wilson or Ms. Bryant. They take calls at all hours because they know that's their job. Within 24 hours, everyone has a smartphone in their pocket. That is no difficulty. Or the next of kin can notify us. Second sentence. The parish administrator will request an independent third party to review within 48 hours. This doesn't interfere with any ongoing investigation because the parish administrator is making the request and he's not doing any investigating. As if Mr. Taliaferro is correct and the first 48 hours are important, then the first week is important, and so we might as well get the ball moving on our request for an investigation, whether it's of an event that takes place at Fleet Services or in the finance department or at the jail. The next 2 sentences are pretty simple. we'll be notified of the findings of the review, either privately or publicly, and the public will be notified of the finding of the review unless other circumstances prevent. This seems normal. I'm surprised as a new commissioner to know that there isn't a process for notifying us when someone dies on our property, whether we share management of that property with someone else or not. It seems necessary to our role as supervisors of the parish property. It seems abnormal not to have a process. If something happens tomorrow, we need to have a process, and this is a perfectly fine process. If it turns out there's some kind of a problem, which I can't imagine, then we can amend it through our normal processes. So I'm going to vote in favor of this. Thank you.
Seeing no one on the board, we'll vote on the second motion, which was to table, and then we'll go to the original motion if that fails. Vote on the motion, the substitute motion, which was to table.
Is it to table until your investigation?
I don't know.
That was the wording.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Table until the investigation is
Okay.
complete.
Okay.
Let's vote.
Okay, that motion fails with 5 in support, 6 in opposition, and 1 absent.
All right, so now we vote on the original motion.
Do you want me to reread?
Which will be to adopt Resolution 35.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I want to make sure that everyone's clear, and especially me, is that voting on this has nothing to do with your correspondence to LSP or DOC.
Correct.
We're not saying we're not in favor of that, we're just voting on the resolution.
He said
Yeah,
that earlier.
they're non-competing.
I understand.
Okay. No more clarifications. Let's vote.
Okay, that motion carries with 7 in support, 4 in opposition, and 1 absent.
All right,
And
next item.
That brings us to the next item, which is resolution number 36 of 2021. It's a resolution amending, resolution amending and unsuspending the 2020 funds to Grace Project and amending the scope of Grace Project agreement and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
So move to adopt.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Jackson and seconded by, who was that? Somebody with a mask.
One of us.
Oh, Commissioner Hopkins. Commissioner Jackson, you want to speak on that motion?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I just want to say that this is budget neutral. I was advised by the CAO to do it this way. They did some projects last year that were related to COVID-19. They had some unspent funds from 2019 that needed to carry over. And so we've been working consistently trying to get that carryover taken care of. What we identified was that the 2020 budget had not closed out yet, so the suggestion was amended or some in the 2020's budget, and just basically, but Grace is here to speak to it if y'all need to talk to one of the representatives. Commissioner Chavez joined them last year in the Thanksgiving. I give what's his name credit for coming out to. Mr. Settle came out and joined us as well, delivering Thanksgiving meals to seniors who did not get a chance to have that normal congregate Thanksgiving meal. They also fed a lot of the sites that did Caddo Parish COVID-19 testing. So they did a lot of work around COVID-19 last year, and so this is essentially allowing them to expend those unspent funds for 2020. I do believe, Ms. Bryant, that they remitted a check back to the parish.
That's correct.
Just out of a precautionary measure, and so the parish would essentially just return that check back to them. Thank you, Mr. President.
Seeing no one else, let's vote.
And that motion carries with 11 in support, none in opposition, and 1 absent. And that concludes the resolutions for today and brings us to our next item on the agenda, which is old business, of which we have none. We also have no new business at this point in time, and that brings us to communiques and committee reports.
Seeing none? Okay. Commissioner Burrell?
Thank you, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just quickly, before I came to the commission meeting, I was on a webinar with some people that was talking about broadband, and it was for state and local officials. And a couple of things that they spoke about on that webinar, it was actually sponsored by the Pew Foundation, that we need to start to put together some sort of planning mechanism for that. I know that former state senator Gerald Long was here, and Woody and I went to the Chamber of Commerce and sat and talked to him. And he was talking about the Chamber of Commerce coming up with a committee, but given the fact that Caddo Parish is Caddo Parish, I think that we need to start the dialogue here ourselves, and then if we want to, if we become a part of an overall program, that would be good, but it needs to start somewhere. And I think I asked you earlier, Mr. Chairman, since I do not chair a committee, and I do have a telecommunication background of 22 years in planning and engineering facilities, that I would consider doing that, with your approval, and I think you said that it would be okay. So I'm just kind of throwing that out, Mr. Chairman, as food for thought, doing these comments. Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I want to say thank you to our clerk and parish staff, Dr. Wilson, for organizing a very good and what I thought was informative Q&A for the rental assistance program. The only complaints that I've received is that after individuals sign up, they then find out that they'll be entered into a lottery system. Again, things gonna float up about that. And let me be clear, whatever I say on an email or in a text message, I'll repeat it right here in this open meeting. All right? And Dr. Wilson, anybody who think they're being harassed, public service might not be the place for them, because people elect us. And I think it was Commissioner Burrell who said, and I laughed, I had to fight for everything that I have. And the people who elect me, they expect me to have the same fervor in representing them, because I told them I would, and I told them that I would be unapologetic about it. There is a concern about the lottery system. I understand why it may have been put in place. I would ask that if we see that there's a way to not do that, that we would definitely consider not doing it. If we know that we're not going to run out of the funds, another tranche of funds will be on the way from the most recent COVID-19 relief fund. So I just kind of think that we should possibly reconsider that lottery system, because I can tell you, Miss Johnson, who lives in apartment A, and Mr. Henderson, who lives in apartment D, they all apply on the same day. They hit submit at the same time, and Miss Johnson gets funded, and Mr. Henderson doesn't get funded. That's going to be a problem with the people that I know. That's going to eventually be a problem, because you know they're going to talk. My rent got paid, I got mine, but we submitted ours all at the same time. Well, I hadn't got mine. So I just putting that out there. But I think And like I said, that's the only complaint that I have received so far. Oh, I'm sorry. The other complaint that I received was that individuals do not have the landlord. They may not have the landlord's email. And so a lot of people are just saying, well, forget it. Let's not put barriers in the way. We're dealing with a very vulnerable population, and things are tense and things are tight out there. And but I do, let me reiterate, I do appreciate the work that we're doing, even when we don't even when we don't agree on how it's being done. I appreciate the work, but I would ask that you please strongly reconsider that process, because it looks like the numbers that you're stating, it looks like that it's really and truly not warranted. But I know there are people on your staff who don't even like to hear me talk. But I'm elected and they're not. And I appreciate you for listening and hearing. Thank you, Dr. Wilson. That's it.
Next item.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion to adjourn.
No, not yet.
We
Yeah.
do have citizens' comments late arrivals.
Yeah, so all the ones who had cards filled out, they've already left the chamber. So the next item,
Thank you very much. Now, I think there was
I
a
will entertain
motion.
that motion now to adjourn.
So moved to adjourn.
Second.